we all have. So I was talking to her about hers, and instantly I felt the tension. I'm like, what did I say?
Well, what did you say about her?
Okay. In her personality type loves drama. They love drama. They love
What your personality was?
I'm the diplomat, the peacemaker.
Okay. Do you agree with that?
In my best moments, I'm that person.
The Brown family has faced heartbreak before, but nothing could prepare them, or us, for the devastating loss of Garrison Brown. Watching a family unravel is one thing, but watching them grieve together on camera for the world to see felt different. It wasn't scripted drama. It wasn't another fight about money, loyalty, or favoritism. This was raw pain, a reminder that behind all the polygamy debates and reality TV headlines, these are real people. Children without a brother, a mother without her son, a father haunted by distance, and a family that may never fully heal. The tribute to Garrison was one of the most emotional moments we've ever seen on Sister Wives. Each sibling, each parent, was forced to face the truth. Grief doesn't erase old wounds, and love can't always fix years of broken trust. It was a moment where unity and division stood side by side, and we all felt it with them. I'm Sarah, and this is TLC Sister Wives Daily. Today we're going deeper into the family's most vulnerable moment, the painful tribute to Garrison, the quiet strength of Janelle, Kody's conflicted grief, and the shocking shade Peyton Brown threw toward Robyn that has fans buzzing. This story isn't just about mourning, it's about what grief exposes in a family already torn apart. So grab a seat and let's unpack the heartbreak, the hidden tension, and the truth behind the Brown family's most unforgettable moment. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I always love hearing your take. When the tribute episode aired, the entire world seemed to pause, but no one carried the weight of that moment more heavily than Janelle. As a mother, she stood before the cameras in her deepest heartbreak, knowing that nothing could soften the reality that her son, her Garrison, was gone. It wasn't polished, it wasn't staged, it was the kind of vulnerability we almost never see in reality television. This wasn't a confessional about jealousy or family drama. This was a mother burying her child, holding herself together just enough so her other children could lean on her. Janelle didn't try to hide her pain. Her voice broke, her eyes filled, and yet there was a strength in her posture, a quiet dignity that reminded us why so many fans have always admired her. She chose to honor Garrison not just with words, but with the honesty of her grief. Every memory she shared felt unfiltered and sacred, a rare moment where a reality TV star allowed her truest self to bleed through the screen. And in that rawness, viewers were reminded of who Janelle has always been, the calm center of a storm, the one who, even in tragedy, holds the family together. What struck me most was the balance she carried. She didn't shy away from the heartbreak, but she also carried strength for the sake of her children. She stood in both roles at once, the grieving mother who had lost a son, and the anchor who knew her other kids needed her more than ever. That duality, pain and resilience, was almost unbearable to watch, yet deeply inspiring. I'll admit, as I sat watching her speak, I had to pause more than once. I thought about my own family, about how unimaginable it would be to say goodbye to someone so young, so full of life. There was a lump in my throat that wouldn't leave because grief has a way of crossing boundaries. It makes us feel our own losses through the pain of someone else. Janelle's openness gave us permission to grieve with her, and for that, I think the world will always remember her courage. This was more than television. It was real life, unfiltered. And in that moment, Janelle showed us what true strength looks like, broken, but unafraid to be seen. If Janelle's grief was steady and dignified, Kody's was jagged, where the weight of losing Garrison seemed to collapse the image he has always tried to project. For once, the bravado was gone. The man who so often fought to control the narrative on this show was suddenly at its mercy. But alongside that vulnerability, there was tension that could not be ignored. Because Kody's relationship with Garrison was not easy, not in life, and not in the years leading up to his passing. Fans haven't forgotten the scenes where Kody's rules during the pandemic drove a wedge between him and his older kids. Garrison and Gabriel in particular pushed back, challenging their father's choices, calling out what they felt was favoritism toward Robyn and her children. Those arguments didn't just fade into the background, they left scars. So when Kody cried during the tribute, it was layered. It wasn't only the grief of a father losing his son, it was also the pain of knowing that things had been broken between them. Viewers could feel it. His sorrow was real, but so was the distance, the years of fractured connection that no amount of tears could wash away. And that contrast made his grief complicated to watch. There were moments where Kody seemed almost swallowed by regret, his eyes darting as if he were reliving the choices he made, the words he couldn't take back. But there were also moments where the distance between him and his older children lingered so heavily, you could almost see the wall between them on camera. It reminded me of past episodes, like when Gabriel shared how painful it was that his father had forgotten his birthday, or when Garrison's frustration boiled over because he felt unheard and pushed aside. Those weren't just storylines. They were moments that shaped the last years of Garrison's life. And now, in the shadow of loss, they take on a new weight. For the audience, it was bittersweet. We finally saw a father stripped of PR, and showing his hurt, but it came with the knowledge that some wounds never had the chance to heal. Kody's tears were real, but so was the silence that had grown between him and his son. The tribute episode itself carried a weight unlike anything we've seen before on Sister Wives. For once, it wasn't about conflicts or debates. It was about honoring a son, a brother, and a loved one who left far too soon. What stood out most was how, despite the family's fractured state, moments of solidarity broke through the cracks. The siblings' voices were the heart of the episode. Each of them spoke in their own way about Garrison, memories of his humor, his kindness, the way he lit up a room. They shared stories that weren't polished for television, but felt raw and unfiltered, as if they were speaking directly to him. And in those moments, the usual family divisions seemed to fade. It was about love, not sides. Christine and Janelle, in particular, showed an unshakable bond as mothers. Christine spoke with her signature warmth, celebrating who Garrison was and how deeply he loved his siblings. Janelle, still visibly carrying the unbearable weight of a mother's grief, found the strength to honor her son without drowning in despair. Even Meri, often sidelined in the family dynamic, stood in shared compassion, her presence quieter, but still part of this collective remembrance. What made this episode so powerful was how TLC handled it. This wasn't sensationalized, edited for drama, or framed in the typical reality TV way. Instead, the cameras captured stillness, pauses, tears that were not manufactured. The tribute was intimate, restrained, and deeply human. It allowed the family's grief to speak for itself. And surprisingly, amid all the fractures that have defined the Brown family over the years, there were glimpses of unity. The siblings leaned on one another, offering comforts, in ways that felt real. Even with the history of hurt, of parents' choices that divided them, the children's love for one another shone through. It was as if Garrison's memory became the thread that momentarily stitched them back together. For fans, these moments were both heartbreaking and healing. Heartbreaking because of the loss, but healing because it reminded us that at their core, beneath the broken marriages and bitter separations, this is still a family bound by shared love. In honoring Garrison, they rediscovered, even if briefly, what it meant to stand together. As tender as the tribute episode was, the story of the Brown family can never remain untouched by conflict. That became strikingly clear when Peyton Brown, Christine's son, made headlines for throwing subtle but unmistakable shade toward Robyn on social media. On Mother's Day, Peyton posted a heartfelt tribute celebrating Christine and even acknowledging Meri and Janelle for their roles as mothers in the family. But one name was very deliberately left out: Robyn. At first glance, some viewers thought it might have been an oversight, a careless omission. But longtime fans know better. This wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. Peyton's silence about Robyn spoke louder than any words could, and it cut right to the core of the family's ongoing tension. For Peyton, loyalty to Christine has always come first. He has watched his mom endure years of feeling less than, overshadowed by Robyn's favored position in Kody's life. By leaving Robyn out of his tribute, Peyton was making a statement, not just about who he respects, but about who he feels contributed to the collapse of the family dynamic. It was a subtle but powerful form of resistance. And this wasn't the first time Robyn has been the target of frustration from the older kids. We've seen it play out over and over again. Gabriel and Garrison struggled with how Robyn became the central figure in Kody's life, receiving attention and protection while they were left feeling abandoned. Even Mykelti, despite maintaining a complicated relationship with Robyn has shown moments of frustration about her role. The resentment has been simmering for years. Peyton's post was just the latest example, an unfiltered reminder that the children haven't forgotten the favoritism that fractured their home. What makes Peyton's shade so striking is that it happened right after the family's most devastating loss. In a moment when one might expect unity, he instead doubled down on a boundary. Robyn does not belong in the circle of mothers he honors. It was a reflection not only of his grief, but of his unwillingness to overlook the past just because tragedy struck. In many ways, Peyton's words echoed the audience's feelings. Viewers, too, have long sensed that Robyn's presence shifted the family balance in ways that left lasting scars. By leaving her out, Peyton reminded us that grief does not erase history, and that the wounds between the siblings and Robyn remain raw. Peyton's Mother's Day post wasn't just a one-off swipe. It was part of a much larger pattern that has been unfolding for years within the Brown family. His decision to exclude Robyn symbolized what so many of the older kids have been voicing for over a decade. The divide between Robyn and her children versus the rest of the family is no longer just a tension, it's a chasm. We've seen these fractures surface time and again on Sister Wives. Think back to the holidays. Christine's kids, and later Janelle's, often described how traditions that once felt inclusive started to feel exclusive. Robyn's children seemed to get more of Kody's time, attention, and presence, while the rest were told to make do with less. This favoritism created deep feelings of rejection. Garrison and Gabriel were painfully candid about it, especially during the pandemic, when they confronted Kody about the sacrifices he was demanding of them, while still prioritizing Robyn's household. It wasn't just about rules, it was about who mattered and who didn't. And to the kids, the answer became painfully clear. Robyn's side of the family was prioritized, while they were pushed aside. That sense of being blocked from their father's love and rejected from the family unity never went away. Peyton's post was a continuation of that truth, his way of refusing to extend acceptance where he felt none was deserved. Even in the aftermath of Garrison's passing, a tragedy that should have united the family, those divides were on full display. Grief didn't magically erase the years of resentment. If anything, it brought the rawness of those wounds back to the surface. The tribute episode showed moments of shared sorrow, but Peyton's exclusion of Robyn reminded everyone that solidarity within this family is conditional, shaped by scars that haven't healed. And it's not just Peyton. Other siblings have echoed similar frustrations. Whether it's Isabel expressing her pain over Kody skipping her surgery, or Gabriel breaking down over his father forgetting his birthday, the pattern is undeniable. Time and again, Robyn has been at the center of the narrative, whether intentionally or not, and the other kids see her as the reason their father slipped further away from them. What makes all of this so heartbreaking is that the loss of Garrison should have been a moment where family came first. Instead, it highlighted the undeniable truth. The resentment runs too deep, and no amount of mourning can disguise the divisions that remain. As the credits rolled on that heartbreaking tribute, one truth became painfully clear. Grief and conflict coexist within the Brown family. On one hand, we saw raw emotion, siblings coming together to honor Garrison, and mothers who carried unbearable pain with quiet dignity. But on the other, the fractures that have defined this family for years were still there, simmering just beneath the surface. It's what makes this chapter of Sister Wives so difficult to watch. The Browns are not just a reality TV family, anymore. They're a family navigating unimaginable loss under the world's gaze. For every moment of unity, there's a reminder of the divisions that still linger. Garrison's passing should have been a bridge, but instead it revealed just how deep the resentments go. And now, I want to ask you, do you think healing is possible for the Browns? Can shared grief bring them closer? Or are the wounds too deep, too lasting to ever truly be mended? Will the children who feel pushed aside ever forgive the choices that left them out in the cold? I'm Sarah, and this has been TLC Sister Wives Daily. Thank you for spending this time with me as we unpack one of the most emotional and complicated chapters of the show. If you found yourself moved, heartbroken, or even conflicted while watching this tribute, you're not alone. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our community as we continue to explore the stories behind Sister Wives. Until next time, take care of yourselves and hug your loved ones a little tighter tonight.